Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Shaq, Hislop and Stevie Nichols. Julian Laurent will be here in a moment. We kick things off with Arsenal against Manchester United. A big game when it comes to the top four outcome from the end of the season. United had the better chances early on. 9 minutes in, Romelu Lukaku with a superb opportunity to give United the lead, denied though by the crossbar.
Well, I mean, it's a fantastic ball from Shaw, but 5 yards out, a free volley, and you can't hit the target. I mean, come on, really.
Then, moments later, Arsenal take the lead, and it's Xhaka with the goal. De Gea, Jack?
Well, I'm on the fence with this. When you see how far Granit Xhaka is, you expect David De Gea, especially David De Gea, we know, to say this. But when you see the movement that Granit Xhaka gets on this, you understand why De Gea is wrong-footed and as badly beaten as he is.
You blame De Gea, Stevie?
No.
Reggie then, 7 minutes later, hits the post.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great chance. I think Leno had it covered as well.
This is a great chance, though, isn't it, for Lukaku?
Well, it just seems to go around Leno. He thinks he's around Leno, but Leno does really well in getting back up, making the ground, and just smothering the chance. I thought it was good goalkeeping.
Let's take it into the second half. Another chance for Lukaku.
I mean, it's a horrible first touch, and he actually gets a second bite at it and hits it straight at the goalkeeper's legs. I mean, again, not good enough.
Marcus Rashford can't hit the target with this free kick.
It just seems to be going goalkeeper's side, so has to go with pace and just pulls it.
And then, 20 minutes to go, penalty awarded. Was it a pen?
Nope. Not a penalty. Not the first time, not the second time. I mean, he just falls over. He just falls over.
Aubameyang, of course, missed the pen last week. Coolly, though, puts this one down the middle.
That's a well-taken
to give Arsenal a 2-0 win. Huge victory for Unai Emery's side. This is what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had to say after the game. Of course, his first Premier League defeat, and he said, well, you cannot say it was a game we deserved to lose. We created so many more chances today than when we beat them in the FA Cup. Sometimes it happens. We hit the woodwork twice and had 5 very big chances ourselves. Their first goal is the one shot they had in the first half. I don't think their second goal was a penalty. The ref might be disappointed when he sees it again. The performances were good. The result was disappointing.
I think he summed it up very well indeed. Arsenal's 2 goals. How many times are you going to see that one from Xhaka?
Right.
And the second one's not a penalty. So, as much as they might have had a lot of the ball, because, I mean, for most of this game, it was pretty open, particularly in the middle of the park. And I think that was to do with both sides having played midweek.
Right.
You know, nobody could really close the ball down properly, even with Pogba and Matic back for United. So it comes down to chances. I mean, Lukaku could have had a hat-trick here. Now, as much as I praised him during the week in the Champions League, you've got to criticise him today. He could have won the 3 points for his team today. No question. Just didn't have that little bit of sharpness in his legs where his touch was better. He didn't have that strength. I mean, you'd expect him to bundle Monreal out the road just with his physical size. And along with him, Rashford he just wasn't in the races. He just left it all in the Champions League midweek. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's spot on. Manchester United did not deserve to lose this game.
A lot of people saying, though, Arsenal deserved the win, that they were good for their 3 points.
Well, they got the goal that they wanted through Granit Xhaka, and then I thought they played well enough to get the 3 points. I'm with Stevie. I don't think that was a penalty in a month of Sundays, but they get the rub of the break. I don't think the referee himself covered himself in glory throughout the game, not just with that one incident. But as far as Manchester United goes, first of all, let me say I'm liking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer more and more. He had every reason and every opportunity to maybe throw some of his players under the bus. He didn't. He could again blame injuries and having to call on teenagers. He didn't. If there was one time that was a perfect opportunity to play against Manchester United, it was this weekend. The week after, they do what they did in Paris. And even so, Lukaku, not great. Rashford wasn't himself. I don't think Pogba took control of the game in the way that you expect him to, nor did Matic. And yet, David De Gea wasn't himself either. And yet still, you create the better of the chances. And feel a little bit aggrieved that you don't come away with 3 points, never mind just one. So credit to Solskjaer, credit to Manchester United. Now their test comes in how they respond to this defeat.
Julien Laurent with us. Jules, you were actually at the game. Where do you sit on this discussion? Stevie saying that Arsenal didn't deserve the win. Do you think they did?
No, I thought they were quite fortunate. I think it was a soft penalty, like the boys have been saying. That Xhaka goal, again, it's a rare shot on target. They had other half chances, but it's true that compared to United, they were not as good, and they were certainly not as creative as United were in terms of chances as well. But I like the way this Arsenal team showed their resilience, if you want. I thought Leno was outstanding in goal. I thought Aaron Ramsey was very good in midfield in a different role than the one that he's usually been played in by Unai Emery. He worked really hard in that midfield, I thought, and I think deservedly so was named man of the match. And I think it's good from Arsenal point of view to see that they've been playing much better this season, for example, against Liverpool at home, and could only get a draw. And tonight, maybe not the best performance of this season, but those 3 points, considering it was against United and everything that happened with Spurs and Chelsea as well this weekend, is a huge win for them.
Meanwhile, at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea taking on Wolves. Chelsea very much, of course, in this top 4 fight as well. This really wasn't a very good game.
To watch, isn't it?
Really, like first half, nothing happened. Then on the break, it's Wolves who make it 1-0. Raul Jimenez, of course, has been great form, hasn't he, of late, making it 1-0.
Well, unfortunately for Kepa in goal, I think Azpilicueta getting the touch is the reason the ball goes past him. I think he's going to get this first strike. But Azpilicueta's touch here does him. And all of a sudden, Chelsea find themselves a goal behind. Plenty of possession, but nothing else.
So Chelsea just looking to get some sort of reply, get something going. Pedro with the effort. It's tipped over though.
Yeah, it's a long way out and pretty much straight down the middle, no real problem.
And then from the ensuing corner, Higuain slow to react at the far post.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. That's a proper centre-forward's chance, and it should have been in the back of the net.
Chelsea, though, would get a point thanks to this from Eden Hazard.
Yes, a wonderful finish by Eden Hazard. Lots of bodies between Hazard and Patricio. There's no way the keeper's getting there. There's some finish right at the death by Hazard.
So Chelsea won, Wolverhampton won. You can see Chelsea had the majority of the ball, majority of the chances as well. Yet they still really struggle to convince. Take a look at the player ratings. It's someone we've talked about a lot. You know, Jorginho coming out and getting a 6. It was interesting, after the game, Sarri came out and defended Jorginho. This is what the Chelsea boss had to say. Jorginho, if the other players do not move without the ball, is in trouble. We needed to move faster and needed more movement without the ball.
Now, I think that's great, what he's doing, sticking up for Jorginho. You know, apart from Sarri himself, Jorginho's come in for a lot of stick.
Yeah.
So don't take him off. Change the other players that you need to move. You're kind of spoiling what you're saying by taking him off the field.
Because he took Jorginho off, but Conte in that position.
So you want to see more people moving off the ball, but yet you change the guy that's supposed to give the ball to the people that are moving, and you change that.
Chelsea
don't make any sense.
Chelsea are dross, aren't they? Just like from someone who enjoys watching football. Of all the teams you can watch, Chelsea are low down that list.
Yeah,
they're not athletic, but come on.
If Eden Hazard isn't setting the place alight, you're not sure who else is able to. Jorginho, who's proven to be the man who's synonymous with this Sarri ball, dare I say, he doesn't give you that spark that the game needs, and as a result, it just dies a death. But to Sarri's comments, David Luiz was, every time he seemed to get on the ball, he was remonstrating about a lack of movement himself. But this is about Sarri and his system. And you, as much as you want to point the fingers at players and their lack of movement, you set them up and you give them instructions. And I've, on the one hand, I kind of feel sorry for Jorginho because he's become the kind of poster boy for this Sarri ball. But it's failing because of the manager, less so than Jorginho, the player.
They're just not convincing, are they, Chelsea, Jules?
No, and they certainly were not today. I thought it was really, really average from a team, and the manager is supposed to play a much better style of football. And you're right, it's just not working. I just don't know what they've been working on for so long since he arrived in July up to now, and for him to still say there's not enough movement off the ball. I mean, either they don't do what he's asking them to do, especially in midfield around Jorginho, or there's really something wrong there, because if after all that time they still don't move enough off the ball, I just wonder why he's making them work at training.
Let's take a look then, shall we, at the Premier table as it stands. And this top four race is going to be quite interesting because Spurs dragged into it, of course, after that defeat against Southampton yesterday. 1 point separates them and Arsenal. Man United just 2 points off the Gunners after that defeat. Chelsea, of course, are on 57 points, but they have a game in hand. Win that, and they're level on points with Arsenal in fourth. It's going to be some race, and you get a feeling it's going to go right down to the wire. But as it stands, Stephen, who would you have?
I would still go with Spurs in third spot. I mean, I thought there was no chance up until the loss to Southampton. I thought, hold on, that's only a point. But I just think they've got enough to see themselves over the line. After that, I'm still going to stick with Manchester United. You know, I don't
Despite
Arsenal. Yeah, I don't trust Arsenal. Listen, it's great you don't play well and you win games, but I mean, I really don't think they're particularly great.
They've got a good run in though, Arsenal. They're not meeting any of the big boys anymore now.
I don't trust them. I just don't trust them. I really am not sure what we're going to get. Chelsea, again, you don't know what you're going to get. Manchester United, you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get good shape. Maybe questions about the back four, but you're going to get good shape and you're going to get fast-paced and attacks on the break with particularly Rashford, who, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's come, has been absolutely sensational.
Are Chelsea the least likely, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think Chelsea the least likely. I have them in 6th, and I actually have Spurs that's finishing 5th.
You, Shaq?
Aye.
Yeah.
Wow.
Listen, you look at the teams who are vying for those spots. Manchester United are the form team. Chelsea, you have absolutely no idea what you're going to get from them, and more times than not, it's disappointment. Spurs are trending in entirely the wrong direction, and as much as Arsenal may be inconsistent, the one thing that you can rely on them with is their home form. They have been simply outstanding at the Emirates. If that continues, and Spurs continues to show this inconsistency that we've seen over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I think Arsenal pip them.
Spurs still have to go to Liverpool. They still have to go to Manchester City as well. Jules, where do you stand on this?
I think United and Arsenal will, Arsenal I think will finish in the top 4, and then between Spurs and United for the other spot, because I think you're right. I think the run of fixtures has to come in that discussion where Spurs have to go to Liverpool and City. Manchester have also the Manchester United have City to play as well. Chelsea will have to go to Liverpool and I think to Manchester United as well. So all those teams will take point of each other, will lose points, especially probably against the big two. And for Arsenal, there are some tricky away games, but with the home form and some of the opposition there, I really believe they will finish in the top 4.
Let's see how the bookies have it then. Spurs 5-3 on, Arsenal 10-7 on, so it's Spurs and Arsenal that are favourites according to the bookies. Then it's Chelsea, Manchester United 4th out of that lot according to the bookmakers. With Manchester City winning yesterday, only a win would do for Liverpool today as they were taking on Burnley at Anfield. It was a poor start for the hosts. 6 minutes in, Burnley take the lead thanks to Westwood's corner, goes directly in.
It was a poor start for the goal for the referee.
Push on Alisson, you saying?
Absolutely, look, Tarkowski's all over his shoulder, and the referee's perfectly positioned to see it. So the referee had the bad start, by the way. Okay.
I think Klopp maybe agreed with you. 19 minutes in though, Liverpool get the equaliser. Firmino with the goal.
Yeah, a little bit of a tap in. Defenders make an absolute mess of it. Salah does well down the right-hand side, and then the goalkeeper getting each other's way. You never blame the goalie, Steve. I found.
You blamed De Gea earlier on in the show.
No.
10 minutes later, Mane makes it 2-1.
Oh, fantastic finish. I mean, it's a great challenge from Lallana here. Questions whether Salah was brought down. I don't think he was, but no question about the finish.
And then into the second half, it's a gift, isn't it? Poor clearance. Salah Firmino.
Yeah, really poor clears from Heaton. Salah, one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Just throws himself to set himself.
Got lucky, didn't he?
He did. Firmino follows in.
Burnley would make it 3-2 in injury time. Emerson would make Liverpool sweat for a moment, but then that sweat would be wiped from the brow of the Liverpool fans by Mane and his set.
Yeah, Mane, absolutely the star of the moment for me. He's the one of the front three who, over the last, since Christmas, has been so consistent. And I've got a little worry here, you know. I've got Alexander-Arnold, who I thought had an absolute disastrous defensive display against McNeil. Couldn't work him out at all. Ended up going off. I'm not sure whether that was an injury or whether Klopp had seen enough. So that's a worry for Bayern coming up.
Right.
And you know what? Salah is involved in two of the goals, but he really is still struggling for. I think it's just confidence.
Really? Is it that simple?
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that Klopp's sticking with him. He deserves.
Klopp said he was the best player on the pitch today.
Well, he's trying to prop him up, and I'm sure he's doing that every single chance he gets. Because there's not a striker born or played that hasn't gone through a tough patch. There's no question Salah's going through it right now. And the only way through it is to get into it, get into the meat of it and play your way through it. And you have to be on the field to do that. So against particularly Bayern coming up, that's my worry. That right-hand side with Arnold defensively and Salah not quite on fire.
We'll talk about Bayern in a moment, but first let's focus, shall we, on the title race. City 1 point clear still the favourites going to the bookies. Let's take a look at their run-in for both sides. Who would you prefer, Shaq? Who would you want to be?
I think Liverpool have the easier run-in. I prefer to be City.
Right.
To be directly answer your question, but no question, I think there are less hurdles for Liverpool, but City are in better form. They're playing better football right now, so I have less of a concern about them.
Well, the two tough games are both at home, which I think is great.
Spurs and Chelsea, yeah.
Spurs and Chelsea, yeah. Had they been away, I would be a worried man, but Liverpool can win all those games. Unfortunately for Liverpool, so can Man City.
Right.
So I'll take Liverpool's run in 100%, but I still like the chances of City to go all the way as well.
You think City are going to win every game?
Fulham, yes. Cardiff City, yes. Palace, yes. Burnley,
So
yes.
there's
Leicester, yes.
There's
Right.
2 games in
So
the middle.
you got Tottenham, and you're at home against Tottenham. So you're looking at Man United, which could be a complete 50-50 because it's obviously the Manchester derby. But they could do it, yes.
Jules, where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I think I still fancy City. I think they're on such a great run of form, and Liverpool have been struggling a bit recently, dropping points where maybe you don't expect them to. I think a lot will depend as well on how far both teams go in the Champions League. You know, if Liverpool, let's say, are knocked out by Bayern on Wednesday and only have the league to focus on, where City are still in the domestic cup as well as you expect them to go through in the Champions League to the quarterfinals plus the league, I think that would play a big part.
Yeah.
And in terms of running, I think I agree with Stevie about the Liverpool one, slightly maybe, not as hard maybe as the City one.
Bayern Munich, of course, as you mentioned, Stevie, Liverpool's next opponents. Bayern won 6-0 yesterday against Wolfsburg. Yet Liverpool are still slight favourites, according to the bookies, to advance to the quarter-finals. Remember, it was 0-0 at Anfield in the first leg. How are you feeling?
I'm actually feeling quite confident. Yeah, I mean, you know, Liverpool did lose 2 goals. But it's kind of, one for a start, shouldn't have been allowed. I'm talking about the Burnley game. One shouldn't have been allowed. No way it was a goal. And the second one goes in and you're like, wow.
Bayern Munich aren't Burnley, Stephen.
No, I know, but
Bayern Munich were brilliant yesterday.
But my point is, when Burnley scored that second goal, I'm like, oh, that's unusual. I mean, you just don't get the feeling that Liverpool are going to give much away. And I absolutely think that because Bayern are at home, the pace Liverpool have going forward will be the reason they're going to win this tie. If I'm the bookies, I'm putting Bayern favourites because they're at home.
Right.
But the closer this game gets, the more I'm confident. I said after the first game that no question Bayern were favourites because they're at home. But the closer the game comes, the more confident I'm becoming that the front three will give them trouble.
Fan in you, Steve.
I know. A lot more about Stevie's confidence available on Extra Time as we answer some of in the Championship today, the big game, the big rivalry. Birmingham taking on Aston Villa. Jack Grealish, the captain, leading out Villa, and he grabbed all their headlines after this incident. 9 minutes into the match as a Birmingham supporter runs on, punches him in the face. He's then escorted away by the police. He's now in custody. Jack Grealish would be okay. But it's just extraordinary scenes, and it's really in the slow motion replay you can see exactly what happens as the fan who is kissing the Birmingham supporters as he's leaded off.
Well, I'm going to take a rough guess and say that his common sense has been impeded by something he's probably taken before or during the game. So there's no question of that.
Look at this. This is the angle. It's incredible.
I mean, that's a jail sentence.
Yeah.
That's what it is. In England, the severity of a blow is called GBH. That's exactly what that was.
What a reply, though, from Grealish. He'd scored the only goal of the game. It came in the 67th minute to give Villa the win.
And that's exactly the type of response that he wanted, that Villa wanted. No better way to do it.
It was Aston Villa who would take all 3 points. It's that incident that everyone wanted to talk to Jack Grealish about after the game. This is what the Villa captain had to say.
How would you describe what's happened to you today?
Best day of my life. To come here, you know, for the first time, obviously captain Aston Villa and scored a winner, you know, it's what dreams are made of, especially for me being an Aston Villa fan.
You've seen the incident back with the fan though. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I was just unaware at the time. Obviously, I think we had a corner, was it, or a throw-in the corner, and obviously I was walking into position, and then I just felt a whack around the side of the face. Obviously, I don't, you know, there's rivalry and stuff in football, but I don't think there's any place for that really. But you know, I just tried to get on with my job in the end, and I think I did. You know, I scored the winner, and we've come away with 3 points. So.
Yeah. How sweet a moment was that to get the winner?
It was unbelievable. You know, in front of our fans and stuff. And after what happened in the first half, I think it was set up for it. And like I said, you know, captain in the club here was something I've dreamed of since I was a little kid, so over the moon.
You ever seen anything like that before, Stevie? Someone playing on a punching the player?
No, certainly never been involved in anything like that myself on the field. And I'm talking, 30 years as a professional. So, no. I'm a little surprised, but very proud of his teammates. Because I know there are certain players that I played with who, if that had happened to one of their teammates, then you could be looking at some of the players getting in serious trouble. So I think the players' restraint was pretty honourable.
Both
seen anything like this yet?
No, never. I'm a Stevie on this. I don't recall ever seeing this or even hearing about anything quite like this. I think both sets of players have to get some credit here for how they handled what could have been an inflammatory incident. And now it's down to both the English FA and Birmingham City to make an example of the incident and of the fan who ran on. I think, without question, this fan is going to be charged, as Stevie rightly points out. The FA, I think, have a responsibility now to charge Birmingham City with a failure to control this fan, and then Birmingham City have to take it upon themselves to make an example of that fan. So just thinking about this loosely off the top of my head, the FA could fine Birmingham City, whatever figure, 50% of it suspended on the premise that Birmingham City sues this player for recovery of that fine, and make a thorough example from back to front in this. Police charge, find yourself in court because of the fine that will be imposed. I don't think the other fan should bear the cost for what he's done.
It has to be a jail sentence. Listen, we're actually, and Grealish was kind of smirking about it at the end because he scored the goal and kind of trying to dismiss it. The truth is, the guy's come from nowhere, and just for the fact that clearly he's been impeded by something, hasn't caught him in the tempo. Because if he catches him on the tempo, this could be a whole different ball game.
How would you have reacted, Stevie?
Do you know what, Dan? I was actually very level-headed on the field.
Right.
I don't.
Which is interesting because off the field.
Yeah, well, I don't see myself reacting and going crazy. I know a few of my teammates that would have done the complete opposite. People like Souness.
Yeah.
I mean, you do that to one of his teammates, then you better run for the hills.
Right.
But personally, I think I would have handled it fine. I would have just tried, if I was anywhere close to it, calmed it down and hopefully I would have done exactly what the players on the day did.
I think the bigger concern really is your teammates who kind of see the incident as it happened. From Jack Grealish's perspective, he has no idea what happened.
Yeah.
You know, he just feels a thump to the back and to the side of the head and he's on the floor. And by the time he looks up, all he's seen is legs about him and security are there. So he's not sure himself what to make of the incident, what just happened, and how to react. And then the Villa players steam in. Many of them, I think, hot-headed, as Stevie was alluding to. But there were a couple, one young in particular, who put himself in between the Birmingham City fan and his teammates and holding them off. I thought the Birmingham City players also did well in trying to calm the situation. This is their fan, and this really could have boiled over into something ugly, not just at the moment, but it could have played out during the course of the game. But I thought the players themselves also handled it professionally in a way that, again, you can only applaud.
This has been a huge story in the UK. It dominates all the back pages of the major newspapers. You take a look at it, the front page of the Mirror says, you morons. This eclipsing what happened between United and Arsenal in the fact that it's got so much media attention. It's the top story, isn't it, Jules, not just amongst the sports journalists, but also the news media as well.
Yeah, that's right, and rightly so. Obviously, it's a shock and disbelief here for what happened today in Birmingham. What was sickening as well is that the Birmingham fan who attacked Jack Grealish then was applauded by a lot of the Birmingham fans on the side where he left the pitch with the police, which again is not something as well that you want to see. But this is a season where we've had too many incidents like that. Obviously, this is the top of it, but we've had the banana thrown at Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang from a Tottenham fan during the North London derby. We had the Sterling abuse. Obviously, we had some of the Chelsea chantings, the anti-Semitic chanting. We have problem in Scotland as well, and it's something that is getting bigger and bigger and far too frequent and far too common as well. And that the Premier League and also the Scottish Premier League, they have to intervene now and they have to do something that has to stop because it's gone too far now.
Jules, let's talk about punishment. Starting off with the idiot who came on the pitch. He was obviously arrested. He's in custody. What's going to happen to him?
Yeah, jail sentence, like Stevie said, without a shadow of doubt. I don't think there will be a debate anyway. He will go to jail. We have to see for how long, because they also have to make an example now. There was another pitch invader at the Arsenal-Manchester United game today, and it was far too easy for him to get on the pitch, and he went to see Chris Smalling, and he could have done exactly the same, or tried to do exactly the same as in the Birmingham-Aston Villa game. So jail sentence for sure, and try to make an example so people will stop doing that kind of stuff.
Now, what about the club, Jules? There's been a whole range of possible punishments I've heard cited on the radio as I was driving in, from Birmingham getting relegation, points deduction, playing games behind closed doors. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is suitable punishment?
I think it could be all of that. Dan, all of you said point deduction, maybe the less likely, but for sure playing behind closed door, a hefty fine as well, surely, because it was a derby, it was an early kickoff to avoid that kind of incident, and people not drinking too much before kickoff so they don't get too mad, and the rivalry is so big over there. But Birmingham surely failed today to protect the players on the pitch, whether they were Aston Villa players or Birmingham players, and to contain their own supporters. And surely, again, an example has to be made of club failing to do all of that.
So Aston Villa then get the 3 points. It lifts them up to 9th in the Championship table.